We'll move on to statements by members.
The Honourable Member for Montcalm. Mr. Speaker, social justice is not an abstract concept. It is a fundamental condition of our peaceful coexistence, the very essence of modernity. Diminishing its scope rather than making it blossom is a mistake we must not make. Short-term benefits or political gains must not blind us. Social justice is beneficial on many levels. Social justice is a factor of progress, but also one of coherence in our economy, where people are more and more interconnected. The math is simple. This represents more cohesiveness to the benefit of the common good. For many generations, we've been trying to build a more just and fair society, but unfortunately, this government doesn't seem to appreciate the real value of the fruits of this investment. The government must recognize its importance, act as a result, and stop implementing policies that undermine the achievements of Canadians in matters of social justice. Thank you.
Honourable Member for Oakville.
Mr. Speaker, in November of 2013, I made a successful motion on the Status of Women Committee that we study the impact, treatment and nature of eating disorders in Canada, with the focus on women and girls, who compose 80% of the victims. During Eating Disorders Awareness Week, some shocking details must be reported. Eating disorders, anorexia, bulimia, and binge eating are complex and highly misunderstood mental illnesses, influenced by genetic, psychological, social, and cultural factors. They are not driven by body image or peer pressure, but are triggered by them. Anorexia patients have the highest mortality rate of any mental illness, leading to 1,500 deaths per year. Only 50% of the victims fully recover, and only a patchwork of specialized treatment exists across Canada. For example, 20 dedicated beds in British Columbia, but 0 in Alberta. Patients require specialized and robust care from families, doctors, hospitals, treatment centres, researchers, and governments. This study is the first step to making this dream a reality.
The
Honourable Member for Longueuil-Pierre Boucher. Thank you. I chose to get involved in politics in 2008 because the best way to slow down climate change was to work together. In Longueuil, the environment is at the top of people's concerns, and that's why I'm proud as their MP to point out some of the most important aspects of this. Acting locally and thinking globally is something that we do. It's so important. We see many locals in my riding involved in these initiatives. People in my riding know how to say very loudly and speak out against what we need to do, or speak out for what we need to do to protect our river from oil spills, etc., and to speak out against the oil sands. The people in my riding can count on companies like Lito Green and others. The protection of the environment is not negotiable, it's essential, and we need to work on it here in this Parliament.
Mr. Speaker, in my riding of Provencher, we are blessed to have strong, healthy, vibrant communities. Much of that growth can be attributed to an incredible entrepreneurial spirit. I would like to take a moment to recognize some of the local businesses that have recently received awards for their superior products and services. For instance, the Carillon, the largest rural newspaper in Manitoba, has won hundreds of awards, both provincially and nationally. Bothwell Cheese has taken home many awards, but most recently, first place for both its marble and cheddar cheese at the British Empire Cheese Show. Canadian Gold in Marchand, named as the best bottled water in the world at the prestigious Berkeley Springs International Water Tasting Competition. And High Life Foods of La Broquerie, a vertically integrated food processing company with over 1,500 employees, and has recently received the Manufacturers and Exporters Export Award. Mr. Speaker, these are just a few of the success stories in Provencher. Our Conservative government will continue to support measures that will help the entrepreneurs grow their businesses and prosper. Thank you.
The Honourable Member for Saint-Maurice-Champlain. Mr. Speaker, there is an impressive number of seasonal festivals that contribute to the lives of the people of the Mauricie. And despite the lack of interest of the federal government, The Sainte-Anne-de-la-Pérade Tom Cod Ice Fishing Festival is carrying on its activities for the 77th consecutive year. One should understand that this kind of festival is critical to maintaining community life in the region, and that the government has a duty to help ensure its longevity. Despite the obstacles and the lack of significant federal subsidies, Sainte-Anne-de-la-Pérade is once again welcoming visitors from across the country who want to experience ice fishing in one of the oldest Francophone communities in the country. Today, we are paying homage to the organizers of this festival that is emblematic of our culture, deeply rooted in the areas surrounding the Chemin du Roi.
For Yellowhead.
Mr. Speaker, March 3rd, 2005, 4 RCMP constables were shot and killed near Mayerthorpe, Alberta, in my riding of Yellowhead. A tribute park was built by the Fallen 4 Memorial Society to honor the memories of fallen constables Shyman, Johnson, Gordon, and Myrol. In the park are 4 bronze statues representing each fallen member and a 24-foot center obelisk honoring all uniformed police officers across Canada. It is topped by doves representing the heroes whose spirits now fly free. The Fallen 4 Memorial Park was built by volunteers with donations from across this country. It is a promise to loved ones who have grieved that their heroes will never be forgotten. Mr. Speaker, we are nearing the 10th anniversary of this tragic event. I invite all Canadians to join me in remembering that either in person or in spirit, the remembrance ceremony and memorial candle lighting at the Fallen 4 Memorial Park on March 3rd, lest we forget.
The Honourable Member for Marc-Aurèle-Fortin. Mr. Speaker, my region, the Basse-Laurentide, is the future vital economic force of Quebec, thanks to its leading-edge businesses in aerospace, pharmaceuticals, and transportation vehicles. But in order to help businesses to develop economically, the federal government must invest in transport infrastructure so that the latter will no longer cause bottlenecks and be an obstacle to our production. In Canada, there is a $200 billion deficit in infrastructure, and our regions are not able to meet the growing needs. This situation is particularly damaging to the Lower Laurentide region. The NDP therefore demands that Canadian infrastructure be developed so that our regions be prosperous and be able to support economic innovation. Thank you.
Honourable member for St. Catharines. Thank you. Mr. Speaker, on January 17, St. Catharines lost one of its best-loved media personalities. Nicknamed the Mayor of the Morning, radio station CHSC's John LaRock passed away following a long battle with both Alzheimer's and Parkinson's disease. John was a familiar voice for nearly 30 years in his post as CHC's morning man, but he was also a familiar face at almost every kind of community event you could think of. From hosting hundreds of charity functions to attending probably thousands of local sporting events, John was the epitome of CHSC's old slogan, all about this town. The week before John died, the building that housed CHC Radio on Queenston Street was bulldozed to the ground. I can't help but find some symmetry to the fact that the last week that John was on this earth and made his exit, Mr. Speaker, for St. Catharines, the loss of CHSC and of John LaRock is truly the end of an era. Thank you.
The Honourable Member for Red Deer.
Mr. Speaker, I'm honoured to stand today to pay tribute to 2 friends of mine from the Alberta Provincial Legislature who will not be seeking re-election. Last month, both Marianne Jablonski and Cal Dallas announced that they would be moving on to the next chapter in their lives. Both have spent lifetimes devoted to Red Deer and have served residents with honour and dignity. Marianne Jablonski has represented Red Deer North since 2000, and Cal Dallas has represented Red Deer South since 2008. I'm grateful for their service, and I will miss their passion and commitment to our community. We in this House are well aware of the commitments and sacrifices that come with public life, most notably the stresses it puts on family. Fortunately, both Marianne and Cal have been able to count on tremendous support from spouses Bob and Jackie. Marianne and Cal can look forward to spending more time with their families as they begin the next chapter in their lives. In closing, I would like to wish both Cal and Marianne enjoyable retirements. Once again, I thank them for their service.
The Honourable Member for Saint-Bruno, Saint-Hubert. Mr. Speaker, on the occasion of National Suicide Prevention Week, I would like to highlight the exceptional work done by stakeholders in my riding of Saint-Bruno, Saint-Hubert, but also all the work that is done across the Greater Longueuil area. On November 11th, I invited stakeholders in the mental health world to a round table in order to identify best practices in terms of suicide prevention. Today, I'm pleased to be the stakeholder spokesperson and asking the government to grant mental health organizations the necessary resources needed to create a social support network that is significant, positive, and constructive. We need to work even harder so that mental illnesses are not glossed over, and the time has come to invest in the psychological well-being and health of Canadians. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Saskatoon-Humboldt.
Mr. Speaker, respecting taxpayers' dollars should be a paramount concern for parliamentarians. The NDP have been directed to pay back the $2.7 million they funneled into partisan satellite offices. Once again, the NDP continues to defend its illegal partisan satellite offices and to deny any wrongdoing. This is simply an abuse of taxpayers, Mr. Speaker. Unlike the NDP, I believe that political parties should pay for their own campaign offices, using their own funds. The rules have always been clear that it is not acceptable to use House of Commons resources to fund parties' offices. Mr. Speaker, it's time for the NDP to take responsibility for their wrongdoings. These 68 members from across the floor need to apologize to the Canadian taxpayer and immediately pay them back.
The Honourable Member for New Westminster, Coquitlam.
Mr. Speaker, the people of New Westminster, Coquitlam and Port Moody are telling me they want real action to stimulate job creation. Last month, we were shocked to learn that Williams Moving and Storage, a family-owned and operated company with their headquarters in my riding, filed for bankruptcy. Under Conservative mismanagement, the economy has stalled. Whether it's the rubber stamping of botched foreign takeovers like Target, which resulted in more than 17,000 Canadians losing their jobs in 133 communities, including Coquitlam, or the destabilization of Canada's once balanced economy, the Conservative approach is failing middle-class Canadians. Unlike the Conservatives, New Democrats have a plan to create good jobs, which would immediately help working families. An NDP government would reduce taxes on Canada's real job creators, small and medium-sized businesses, and would launch an innovation tax credit to encourage investment. When it comes to real job creation, only Canada's NDP can deliver.
Yay! The Honourable Member for Prince Albert.
Well, Mr. Speaker, not surprisingly, the NDP have been found guilty of inappropriately spending Canadian taxpayers' dollars to fund their own partisan political agenda. 68 MPs have to repay a total of $2.7 million they took from Mr. Speaker, from the Canadian taxpayers. What is worse is the opposition leader's office doesn't believe they should have to repay the $2.7 million. The rules have always been clear. It is not acceptable to use House of Commons resources to fund party offices. It is sad that the NDP has demonstrated a pattern of abuse of taxpayers' dollars, and on this side of the House, we believe they should immediately repay those funds.
The Honourable Member for Ottawa-Vanier.
Mr. Speaker, the first time that I was elected to the Canadian Parliament was 2 days before the 30th anniversary of our flag. In 10 days' time, we'll be highlighting its 50th anniversary. During this time, I learned to better appreciate the meaning and genesis of our flag as a symbol of our great country. It's important that our youth, the generation that will one day manage our institutions, be informed of the controversial but essential nature of the need to take sometimes difficult decisions.
Poster highlighting the history of our flag and distributed it to every school and every student in the riding I have the privilege of representing. I've also shared it with all my colleagues for their use, should they so wish, with appropriate modifications, of course. La semaine prochaine.
Next week, we will be in our ridings. I hope that we will all have the opportunity to participate in events highlighting the 50th anniversary of our beautiful and distinctive flag.
The honourable member for Wetaskiwin.
Mr. Speaker, the international jihadist movement has declared war on Canada. That is why Canada is not sitting on the sidelines, as the Liberals would have us do, and is instead joining our allies in supporting the international coalition in the fight against ISIL. I was shocked to hear the Liberal member from Malpeque say, quote, "We knew what kind of brutality was happening," end of quote. And Mr. Speaker, this was before he and his leader opposed the mission against ISIL. I guess it should be no surprise that the member thinks only giving out blankets is the best way to fight terrorists. When the member from Malpeque was the Solicitor General, he obstructed Conservative efforts to list Hezbollah as a terrorist organization, saying, CSIS, in fact, does not need to have people on a list in order to do its job. Well, Mr. Speaker, we will always oppose this type of soft-on-terror approach. Only a Conservative government will stand up to support and protect Canadians.
The honourable member for Esquimalt.
Mr. Speaker, many Canadians are raising serious questions about the Conservatives' new anti-terrorism legislation. Everyone in this place agrees that terrorism is a real threat and must be confronted head-on. But people are wondering why the Conservatives are dismissing advice from experts and even from commissions of inquiry. Conservatives are calling better civilian oversight, quote, red tape. The Prime Minister's campaign-style announcement wrongly singled out Canada's 1 million Muslims, yet Conservatives refuse to apologize for this divisive approach. Mr. Speaker, Canadians are worried that Conservatives may go too far in eroding our freedoms and rights. So imagine people's shock when they learned the Liberal leader is offering the Prime Minister a blank check. He says the Liberals will vote for C-51 even if improved oversight isn't there. And the Liberal leader openly admitted his reasons are based on politics, not evidence. Mr. Speaker, Canadians deserve leaders with the judgment and experience to give legislation like this the careful scrutiny that it deserves.
The honourable member for Grant.
Mr. Speaker, under the strong, dependable leadership of our Prime Minister, our government will balance the budget and put money where it belongs, into the pockets of hardworking Canadians. Our family tax cut and enhanced universal child care benefit will give 100% of families with kids an average of more than $1,100 per year to spend on their priorities. Families in Brantford, Brant, and across Canada will receive nearly $2,000 per year for every child under 6 and $720 per year for every child between 6 and 17, thanks to the enhanced universal child care benefit. The Liberal leader will reverse our tax cuts and do exactly what the Liberal Party elites always do: raise taxes for ordinary Canadians while handing that money over to bureaucrats. Mums and dads don't need to be told how to spend their money. Our Conservative government is the only party Canadians can trust, and with our family tax cut and benefits, we're proud to be standing up for their future.
Oral questions. Questions orales. The honourable leader of the opposition.
Yeah,
Mr. Speaker, over 17,000 workers at Target have started liquidating 133 stores in every corner of this country. These will be their last days on the job. We're talking about vulnerable workers, new employees, working irregular hours. Many, if not most, won't even qualify for EI. Will the Finance Minister please tell this House, and will he please tell those workers from Target who are losing their job, what will he actually do for those workers?
The Honourable Minister of Employment.
Well, Mr. Speaker, of course, we all feel badly for those at that company who've lost their jobs. And of course, we've already reached out. In fact, within hours of the announcement made by this U.S. retailer, we reached out to the company and its employees, offering a special accelerated process for EI claims, offering to job bridging and connections with employees with jobs that are available through the job bank, offering training programs. And we will be there to support those individuals, Mr. Speaker. The most important thing is that we have a strong and growing economy, so there are other alternatives if people lose their jobs. That's why we're cutting taxes to create those jobs rather than the NDP's approach of raising taxes.
Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Most of them won't even qualify for EI. All he's talking about is accelerated refusal, Mr. Speaker. Les conservateurs se sont fait prendre.
The Conservatives got caught with their pants down by the drop in oil prices and the lack of diversification in our economy, and it's their fault. We have put forward responsible steps to help manufacturing, to boost small and medium-sized business, and to create jobs in Canada. Since they have no budget, can the finance minister tell us whether he will at least support our motion to create jobs for the middle class? The Honourable Finance Minister, Industry Minister.
We'll be voting against the motion because it's misguided, as most NDP policies are, Mr. Speaker. Of course, our government believes in having a strong, balanced, effective economy that supports manufacturing in all regions of this country. For example, we're putting forward our national shipbuilding procurement policy, which the NDP has opposed. And this is a policy that the Conference Board of Canada last week said is going to lead to strong growth in the manufacturing sector in the province of British Columbia and Nova Scotia. We've put forward, for example, the Automotive Innovation Fund, which has led to an expansion of 1,200 new jobs of Linamar and Guelph, an expansion of 1,200 new jobs in Oakville by Ford, with those policies that we put forward, Mr. Speaker. So again and again, accelerated capital cost allowance, key investments, the NDP has voted.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
400,000 manufacturing jobs lost on their watch, Mr. Speaker. My colleague from Sackville Eastern Shores has always stood up for shipbuilding in this country. We have no lessons to receive from them. The Conservatives have no plan for cities. Municipalities across the country are faced with crumbling infrastructure, an affordable housing crisis, and gridlock. And mayors are saying the government is not working with them. Last week, the Minister of Finance called Canada's premiers delusional because they wanted to talk about improving transit. So we want to know is this: are they going to take the same sort of arrogant attitude with the mayors of this country this afternoon, insulting them the way the Finance Minister did?
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. And notwithstanding the sound and fury that they may hear in this place from time to time, municipalities can be assured that they have the strongest partner in this Conservative government than they've ever had. Our Conservative government has introduced the largest infrastructure plan in Canadian history, a $75 billion plan over the next decade. This includes a $53 billion plan for municipalities, provinces, and territories. And in the fall, the Prime Minister announced $6 billion specifically for federally owned infrastructure. Mr. Speaker, we're not only doing our part, we're doing much more.
The Honourable Member for Alfred Pellan.
Bill, Canadians have more question than answer about whether these new powers are necessary or even what they do. Will the Minister please explain what new activities will be allowed by the clause which gives CSIS the power to, quote, disrupt threats?
The Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, this is a very comprehensive bill, but with respect to CSIS, what it will allow them to do is not only share more information and work closely with Canadian security forces, it will allow us also to engage more with our Five Eyes community and allow us to track terrorists that pose a threat to Canadians. Allow our CSIS officers to operate as other security agencies do in protecting Canadians both at home and abroad.
The Honourable Member for Alfred Pellan. This week, the RCMP laid terrorism-related charges here in Ottawa under existing laws, and we thank them for that. This case also shows there needs to be more support for communities that are combating radicalization. The idea here is cooperation. Why has the Prime Minister chosen to alienate these communities instead of working with them? To the contrary, Mr. Speaker, there have been many opportunities for cooperation, working with all communities in Canada.
The fact that there is ongoing efforts that are happening both by security agencies themselves, by other branches, departments of government to reach out, to have roundtables, to be inclusive, to consult regularly with all of the diversity of Canada. That is not only a security issue, Mr. Speaker, that's an ongoing effort on the part of government.
The Honourable Member for Saint Laurent-Cartierville. Mr. Speaker, the Building Canada Fund in 2014 had a $1.65 billion budget. In 2015, $210 million. That's an 87% cut. In total, the fund spreads $14 billion over the period of 2014 to 2013. So $10.2 billion, or 73% of that, won't be available until 2019. So an 87% cut this year and 3/4 of the effort pushed back to 2019. When we need the investment and jobs now, will the government admit it cannot deny these numbers? These are official numbers. The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Mr. Speaker, it's intriguing that the Liberals have this sudden conversion to the importance of infrastructure, given that they did so little on this file when they were government, Mr. Speaker. As a Conservative government, we have invested 3 times the amount in infrastructure than the Liberals did when they were government, Mr. Speaker. These investments are creating jobs and prosperity. They're enhancing our country's growth and productivity.
Hear, hear. The Honourable Member for Kings Hants.
Mr. Speaker, that's false, and they know it. The truth is that the Conservatives are playing a shell game with infrastructure funding just to create a notional surplus on the eve of an election. The truth is that 73% of the new Building Canada Fund isn't even available until after 2019. That is 2 elections from now. The truth is that $210 million is available this year. That is a 90% cut from last year. When will the Conservatives simply tell the truth and reverse their cuts to infrastructure funding?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary of the Minister of Infrastructure.
Mr. Speaker, that member is once again misleading the House. The New Building Canada plan has been open for business since March. In less than a year, Mr. Speaker, projects representing an estimated $5 billion have already been approved for funding. And Mr. Speaker, when we first announced the New Building Canada plan in Budget 2013, here's what that stalwart of the Conservative Party, Ottawa Mayor Jim Watson, had to say. This is good news for the City of Ottawa, and indeed good news for all cities across Canada.
The Honourable Member for Kings Hants.
Mr. Speaker, the Conservatives are trying to take credit for funding that won't even flow until 2020. Meanwhile, they've slashed the Building Canada Fund for the next 2 years. $210 million this year represents a 90% cut from last year. The middle class is struggling. The economy shrank in November. We're seeing stagnant growth and virtually no jobs growth. The economy needs a boost now, not just in 5 years. Why won't the Conservatives tell the truth and reverse their infrastructure cuts and create jobs today?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary of the Minister of Infrastructure.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. And of course, one of the key pillars of the New Building Canada plan is the gas tax fund. And here's what our Conservative government has done with respect to the gas tax fund. We've doubled it. We made it permanent. We're indexing it moving forward. Municipalities know to the penny exactly how much money they are receiving. That money is flowing today, and municipalities are using it for their infrastructure needs. Mr. Speaker, we're getting the job done.
The Honourable Member for Parkdale, High Park.
Monsieur le Président.
Mr. Speaker, today the liquidation of Target's inventory begins. Everything must go. Toys, clothing, kitchenware, and 17,000 employees. 17,000 people will be out of work, all because this government's incapable of building a diversified economy and protecting Canadian jobs. Will the government face facts, admit the failure of their economic management, and adopt the NDP's plan to support the middle class and foster job creation? The Honourable Minister of Employment.
You know, the NDP's so-called plan involves the accelerated capital cost allowance, which this government has delivered in 3 subsequent budgets, and in every instance the NDP voted against. It includes reducing taxes supposedly for small businesses, which this government has done, which the NDP voted against. Mr. Speaker, the NDP have about as much credibility in talking about tax cuts as a vampire does in pledging to become a vegetarian.
The Honourable Member for Parkdale, High Park.
Well,
Well, sadly, that vampire is in charge of job creation, and he's not doing the job today, Mr. Speaker. Maybe some vegetarians should get involved. They also have no plan to replace the more than 400,000 manufacturing jobs lost under their watch. That's 400,000 well-paid jobs that once put food on family tables and life into communities. The NDP's presented a plan to boost investment in manufacturing and create good middle-class jobs for generations to come. Why do the Conservatives refuse to support action? Why do they refuse to create good jobs for Canadians?
Hear, hear. The Honourable Minister of Industry.
Well, Mr. Speaker, what we refuse are NDP policies that have been described by the Canadian manufacturers and exporters as, quote, plans that threaten to erode investment and put jobs at risk. That's what the Canadian manufacturers and exporters themselves say. And here's what they say about our plan. They say our plan delivers solutions for manufacturers across Canada. So they've looked at the NDP plan. They said that it fails. They've looked at ours. They know that it works, Mr. Speaker. If the NDP don't understand that the Canadian manufacturers and exporters are the experts and that high taxes are going to kill jobs under their plan, then I guess we're all just going to have to live with our disappointment that the NDP just can't learn.
The Honourable Member for New Westminster, Coquitlam.
The mayors of Canada's 19 biggest cities have come together today to highlight the need for federal action. Our cities are facing crumbling infrastructure, a growing housing crisis, and inadequate transit funding. Gridlock costs us billions of dollars a year in lost economic activity, and the average Lower Mainland resident spends the equivalent of 35 working days per year just commuting. Mr. Speaker, why won't the Conservatives work with our mayors, cut our travel times, and build the infrastructure we so badly need?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary and Minister of Infrastructure.
Mr. Speaker, we're doing just that. We're working very closely with mayors, with municipalities, with provinces, with territories across this country to renew infrastructure, create jobs, and enhance our growth and productivity. We are making record investments in infrastructure. This includes record investments in public transit, Mr. Speaker. Since we formed government, we've invested almost $8 billion in public transit alone. And public transit is an eligible category under every component of the plan.
The Honourable Member for Hochelaga. What the big city mayors are asking for is straightforward. They want the feds to have a long-term vision and to work with them to address the crises in affordable social housing, transportation, and infrastructure. It's time to play catch-up, and the investment will create more jobs than the tax cuts for the wealthy put forward by the Conservatives. What's it going to take for this government to finally work with the mayors and premiers? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
We have a long-term vision. We have a long-term plan, Mr. Speaker, a 10-year plan, $75 billion over that next decade. Stable, predictable funding, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, and that includes the $53 billion New Building Canada plan, which is dedicated directly to municipalities and provinces. In fact, municipalities will receive a minimum of 70% of that New Building Canada plan, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Dartmouth, Cole Harbour.
Mr. Speaker, the economy of smaller towns and regions is also suffering under these Conservatives. Enterprise Cape Breton was replaced by ACOA. But whatever it is it's called, the bottom line is clear. Conservatives have failed to deliver the help that this region needs to build their economy. You see, ECBC was shut down in the omnibus budget bill last year, but according to the mayor of Port Hawkesbury, quote, ACOA has failed us miserably, unquote. So why hasn't the minister been talking to the mayors about the problems with ACOA?
The Honourable Minister of State for ACOA.
Mr. Speaker, I'd suggest the honourable member travel to Cape Breton and get around a little more, because our government is committed to supporting economic development in Cape Breton and throughout Atlantic Canada. In fact, just in the last year alone, $2.2 million towards the implementation of the Richmond County Tourism Strategy, $1 million to assist with the operation of the Celtic Colours Festival, $1.3 million for the expansion of the Sydney Boardwalk, $200,000 for the Inverness County Fails Federation in an effort to make the Inverness portion of the Trans-Canada Trail, $105,000 to support the Synergy Lewisburg. I could go on and on if he has a supplemental.
The Honourable Member for Windsor West.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The reality is that Conservatives keep cutting overall funds for community development, and they're failing to help small businesses that support our communities. Small businesses are responsible for nearly 80% of new private sector jobs created over the past decade. But when the Conservatives have handed out tens of billions of dollars to the largest, most profitable corporations, they've left our small businesses and those owners behind. Will the Conservatives support the ND plan to cut small business tax so they can grow and create the jobs that we desperately need?
The Honourable Minister of Industry.
Well, of course, Mr. Speaker, we already have lower taxes for small businesses, and when we've put forward those tax relief to help small businesses grow, it's New Democrats excuse me, that have voted against it. And the leader of the NDP has twice now come forward and talked about his support for small business. But the fact is, the CFIB has done their assessment of it.
Order, I think members of the opposition may have been a little bit premature there. The Honourable Minister still had about 15 seconds left to finish his remarks.
Small problem with that is that it's only New Democrats who are applauding because the CFIB says that the NDP leader's plan is stupid and anti-small business. That's what the CFIB says. So they can applaud all they want. The real leaders understand.
The Honourable Member for Quebec City. Mr. Speaker, we know the solution is here with the NDP. SMEs are the drivers of job creation in Canada. They create, they innovate, they export, and above all, they hire. They could do even more if they were given the means to do so. That's why our leader has put forward a plan to help them immediately and on an ongoing basis. Instead of helping already profitable big business, we're proposing to cut the tax rate for SMEs. Why do the Conservatives refuse to support the very companies that create good jobs for Canadians? The Honourable Industry Minister. Mr. Speaker, we certainly have an approach that helps businesses grow, and that's why the manufacturing sector supported our budget, has supported our policies, has supported our approach to build an economy that works for the entire country. When you look at the NDP, they would condemn business to higher taxes, and they would do nothing to help manufacturing. The industry supports us and condemns the NDP's approach because their approach simply wouldn't work in our economy. The Honourable Member for Rimouski. Mr. Speaker, over the past 2 years, the Conservatives have spent $1.6 million promoting Canadian oil in the U.S. To begin with, it makes no sense to subsidize an industry that's already making billions in profits. But what's more is that I can't help noticing that the Conservatives have made no such effort to promote our forest and manufactured products. It goes to show the Conservatives have put all their eggs in one basket and have done nothing to diversify our economy. How does the government explain this double standard that is harmful to Canadian workers? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Mr. Speaker, Economic Action Plan 2014 built on our government's success on the forestry file by focusing on innovation, improving energy efficiency, and protecting it from the threat of pests. In fact, the Energy Efficiency Report for 2012-13 highlights that reoriented pulp and paper operations have resulted in a 49% decrease in emissions. Our focus on diversifying markets for our forest products has increased softwood lumber exports to China tenfold. We will continue to take action to create jobs and support forest-dependent communities.
The Honourable Member for Skeena-Bulkley Valley.
You know, recently the industry minister had a problem understanding how many manufacturing jobs were lost in Canada because he'd read a different figure than the one that exists in a magazine. 400,000 jobs lost under their watch. Now he has a problem quoting the Canadian manufacturers exporters, where Mr. Myers said the tax credit the NDP is proposing for R&D-related capital expenditures will help the Canadian manufacturers develop, test, and commercialize the next generation of technologies. And the CFIB said cutting the small tax business rate by nearly 20% will provide a big boost to small business owners across the country and help them create jobs. So why can't the Conservatives simply get on board, or they just don't like the fact that it's the NDP leader that's doing the work to help small businesses and manufacturing in this country?
The Honourable Minister. Order. Order. The Honourable Minister of Industry.
It would be wise if the finance critic for the NDP actually read to the bottom of the exact same press release. If he has it, he should read the final paragraph, which says, in total, the NDP policies would threaten to erode investment and put jobs at risk. That's exactly what he said. He said at its entirety, the NDP policy does not work. They endorse our approach to creating jobs, to supporting the Canadian economy, and moving in the right direction, Mr. Speaker. And there's no question in anybody's mind that the CFIB has supported all of our budgets, and they were very clear when they said the NDP leaders' plan for the economy is dumb and anti-small business.
The Honourable Member for Bourassa. Mr. Speaker, while the Conservatives cut infrastructure by 90%, they have no problem spending $29 million on billboards, $29 million on advertising. The Conservatives are cutting back on infrastructure. They've handed out $2 billion to the wealthiest of the wealthy, and they can't even come up with a budget. Mr. Speaker, $29 million for signs. Is it possible that instead of governing, the Conservatives are already in election mode? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
That is incorrect. This Conservative government is making record investments in infrastructure, Mr. Speaker. These investments are making a real difference in the lives of Canadians. They're creating jobs and prosperity. They're enhancing our growth and productivity. And, Mr. Speaker, not only are we making record investments, we're also keeping taxes low, and we will balance the budget this year. This is sound management. This is effective planning and efficiency that the opposition could only dream of.
The Honourable Member for Winnipeg North.
Well, Mr. Speaker, record investments. I don't quite understand Conservative arithmetic. $2 billion one year, $210 million the next year. That is a cut, no matter what way you want to state it, Mr. Speaker. A cut is a cut. Investing in our infrastructure builds our communities and creates jobs. Winnipeg gets its water from Shoal Lake. There's a need for better access. Millions of dollars are required. The city of Winnipeg understands that. The province of Manitoba understands it. Ottawa's not even at the table, Mr. Speaker. My question to the government is, why are they cutting infrastructure by 90%?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Infrastructure.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. And saying it louder does not make it correct, as we know. Mr. Speaker, the New Building Canada plan has been open for business since March. We look forward to receiving further applications from municipalities. We have not yet received any applications that I'm aware of from the City of Winnipeg, Mr. Speaker. What's more, we respect the jurisdiction of municipalities and provinces. It's the responsibility of provinces to prioritize those projects. We look forward to receiving more.
The Honourable Member for Winnipeg North.
Well, Mr. Speaker, why would you apply for something if the government's not even making it available? It's from $2 billion to $210 million, Mr. Speaker. It's about bad priorities. Tax breaks for the rich, the income split program, hundreds of millions of dollars going to Canadian, the wealthiest in Canada, while at the same time, they're cutting back on investing in infrastructure. That's how you're going to help the middle class, Mr. Speaker. Invest in our infrastructure is investing in Canadian communities. The question is will this incompetent government recognize the mistake and reverse its decision?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Infrastructure.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. As I've explained time and time again, the New Building Canada plan has been established to support municipalities and provinces. It is a 10-year plan. It is the largest infrastructure investment that any federal government has ever established, Mr. Speaker. It is available today for municipalities to apply, and the gas tax fund is flowing to meet priorities today.
The Honourable Member for Davenport.
You know, the Conservatives keep making it harder for skilled workers to immigrate to Canada, Mr. Speaker. Now, as if wait times for family reunification and citizenship weren't enough. They've done such a bad job writing the rules for the federal skilled workers program that the federal court said the same application could either pass or fail depending on any given day how the rules were interpreted. Mr. Speaker, this is a huge problem. What's the Minister for Citizenship and Immigration going to do now to fix this mess?
The Honourable Minister of Citizenship and Immigration.
Well, first thing I'm going to remind this House, Mr. Speaker, that what the member opposite just said is nonsense. It has never been easier to get into Canada as an economic immigrant with the skills, with the education, with the language ability that our growing economy needs, Mr. Speaker. And as of January 1st, this gives me the opportunity to mention to this House we have a new system for delivering economic immigration to this country. It's called Express Entry. It's totally online. We're processing applications in 6 months, Mr. Speaker. This is the best system in the world, and Canadians know it.
The Honourable Member for Pierrefonds.
Quoting the federal court.
Oh, does the minister realize that? Did he at least read the decision? Because, Mr. Speaker, yes, we've been talking a long time about the unimaginably long delays in processing, but now we're talking about random decisions. Some days ago, the federal court recognized that the skilled workers program is so ill-conceived that the same qualifications can yield different results, completely different results for the same person. Mr. Speaker, this is insulting for skilled workers, Mr. Speaker. Has the minister taken into account the decision by the court, and will he respond? Will he clean up this situation? The Honourable Minister. Mr. Speaker, I think that Canadians will have a great deal of difficulty understanding the Honourable Member at a time when the entire world and Canada is singing the praises of this new system, Express Entry. It came into force on the 1st of January. It's the first time in the history of Canada, Mr. Speaker, that we have a system like this, and we are processing the files of people throughout the world who are talented and who want to come to Canada within 6 months. And these are our results that Canadians want to see in their immigration system, and it's justified. The Honourable Member for Saint-Lambert. Mr. Speaker, in July 2014, the minister announced additional inspection powers to put an end to abuse in the foreign temporary worker program. With his hand on his heart, he said, never again. However, today we've learned that no inspections without a warrant was conducted. They're relying solely on statements by employers, and that's ridiculous. When it comes time to protecting Canadians' jobs, why is the Minister of Employment once again showing that he's all talk and no action? The Honourable Minister. Mr. Speaker, the remarkable hypocrisy by the NDP continues on the issue of the foreign temporary workers. The NDP was against the idea of giving inspectors from my department the authority to conduct inspections without a warrant. Mr. Speaker, I can tell you that thousands of investigations were conducted by inspectors from my department since the broadening of the investigative team. All employers cooperated, so we didn't need to use the powers without a warrant.
Mr. Speaker, the minister's bluster can't hide the basic facts. He committed to get serious about inspecting job sites and investigating abuses of the temporary foreign worker program. He now says he sees no need to send any officers to job sites. He's content with the same paper exercise and self-regulation. His department has looked into a mere 7% of complaints received about employer abuse. How can the minister justify his repeated failure to actually take enforcement action?
The Honourable Minister of Employment.
Mr. Speaker, under the previous Liberal government's mismanagement, there were no inspections. There was no power to do inspections. We have a new power. We have a new team. We have quadrupled the size of the team of inspectors. We are doing thousands of inspections every year. But, Mr. Speaker, the NDP opposed our proposed legislative power to do warrantless on-site inspections. They said that was an abuse. Now, we haven't used that power that they opposed because the employers have cooperated with the inspections that we have done. Once again, hypocrisy. They wanted all the TFWs to get permanent residency. Yesterday, they were opposed to us allowing a few of them to stay a while so they could. Mr. Speaker, would the NDP please make up its mind on this important issue?
The Honourable Member for Niagara West, Glanbrook.
Mr. Speaker, our government understands that across this great nation, moms and dads know what's best for their families. This is fundamentally different between our party and both opposition parties. That's why this past year we have helped hardworking parents throughout Canada by introducing the family tax cut and enhancing the universal child care benefit. Mr. Speaker, can the Minister of Employment update this House on the action we're taking to help Canadian families?
Good question. Well, Minister of Employment.
Certainly, I thank the member for his strong support, Mr. Speaker, for family tax fairness, for lower taxes, which we are delivering to 100% of families with children under the age of 18 and with an average benefit over $1,100. And this, it means that, Mr. Speaker, for example, that a single mom with 2 kids making $50,000 will receive $1,000 in relief and benefits. Families earning less than $30,000, low-income families, will receive an average benefit of $1,200. And, Mr. Speaker, all of those benefits would be taken away by the opposition parties if they had their choice. Mr. Speaker, we won't let them do that. Canadian taxpayers will support more support for families. That equals a stronger economy, by the way, and more jobs.
The Honourable Member for Churchill.
Mr. Speaker, the Odawa Drop-In Centre, which helps Ottawa's Indigenous homeless population, will be forced to close in March due to federal changes to funding geared towards helping the homeless. This centre has been operating for over 10 years. It is vital to the healing of First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples in Ottawa who are at risk or in transition. Will the minister intervene to reinstate the funding to the Odawa Centre?
Minister of Aboriginal Affairs.
My understanding is that the City of Ottawa has cut that funding. For the information of the member, the Aboriginal Urban Strategy has been revamped and the funding has been increased to the communities all across Canada. And I would encourage that group to go through the channels of the friendship centres in order to make their application.
The Honourable Member for Churchill.
Mr. Speaker, what's clear is that Indigenous peoples deserve better from this government. They deserve quality services, including health care. But the First Peoples Second-Class Treatment Report released yesterday by the Wellesley Institute showed that we have a long way to go. According to the study, racism in the healthcare system is, quote, pervasive, unquote, and a major factor in substandard health among Indigenous people in our country. So will the government show leadership on this issue to ensure that every Canadian gets the care they deserve, no matter their race?
The Honourable Minister of Health.
Mr. Speaker, if you look at our government's record, you'll find no discrimination in the way that we've treated funding to Aboriginal communities when it comes to health and the health of and safety of all Canadians. We've provided, above and beyond our health transfers, $2.5 billion towards programs and services to Aboriginal health, things like 24/7 access to essential nursing services, in 80 remote communities now, home and community care, in 500 First Nations and Inuit communities. And, Mr. Speaker, we've done a great deal on mental health and we'll continue to work hard with our Aboriginal partners.
The Honourable Member for Victoria.
Mr. Speaker, Conservatives have targeted environmental groups, human rights defenders, yes, even bird watchers, with their $13 million witch hunt, their so-called political activities audits. The group Dying with Dignity was recently stripped of its charitable status. And yet now we learn that right-wing charities leading the charge to privatize healthcare in Canada, well, they aren't even being audited. Apparently, when you agree with the Prime Minister, then you're not political. Why won't the Minister just abandon these witch hunts?
The Honourable Minister of National Revenue.
Speaker, this member knows full well that CRA audits do occur at arm's length. He has been advised on this. He's had technical briefings on this. The commissioner of the CRA, the head of the Charities Directorate have all clarified that and made it very certain. There is no political interference in the auditing of charities. Having said that, we have 86,000 charities in Canada, and the rules around political activity are very long-standing. So we expect charities to respect the law, and the CRA will enforce that.
The Honourable Member for Rivière-du-Nord. Mr. Speaker, the organization Dying with Dignity was stripped of its charitable status by the CRA. According to the Conservatives, it's too political. The problem with the Conservatives is that there's always a double standard. Defending patients is too political, patients' rights. But lobbying to privatize health care, well, that's fine for them, with them. When will this witch hunt targeting progressive groups stop? The Honourable Minister.
That question is just nonsense. There's 86,000 charities in Canada. They are expected to respect the law. The rules around political activity with charities is very long-standing. The CRA looks at this and then they act, which is exactly what they are supposed to do, Mr. Speaker. In 2012 alone, $14.24 billion was tax receipted from approximately 86,000 charities. We stand up for the fairness and integrity of our tax system across Canada. Hear, hear.
Honourable Member for St. Paul's.
The government has refused to meaningfully consult with Aboriginal communities. They have damaged the relationship, but also damaged the economy. Today's report from the Chamber of Commerce highlights that the government's failure to consult with Aboriginal communities is a key barrier to competitiveness in Canada. The Chamber is urging the government to, quote, be far more proactive in engaging with Aboriginal consultation, end quote, and get on with resolving land and treaty claims. Will the government heed the advice of the Chamber and finally take its duty to consult seriously?
Here, here. The Honourable Minister of Aboriginal Affairs.
I mean, I would have expected the Honourable Member to do better than rely on headlines. If she were aware a bit of what the government is doing and how we operate on the duty to consult, I never got the phone call to congratulate the measures we announced last summer to reinforce our consultation process throughout Canada. This is the duty to consult is mandated by law. It is respected by the government, and we will continue to consult Aboriginal people throughout the country whenever the duty arises.
The Honourable Member for Vancouver Centre.
Mr. Speaker, currently small craft are not allowed to dump sewage less than 3 miles from Vancouver's coastal waters. Transport Canada is thinking of reducing this to 1 mile, which will cause a serious public health hazard, increasing E. coli contamination on the busy beaches in Vancouver where kids and locals swim. Public health officers, health authorities and municipalities have raised concerns with the Minister. Will she ensure Canadians that she will prevent this public health catastrophe and abandon this reckless idea?
The Honourable Minister of Transport.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, it is true that Transport Canada is reviewing these guidelines, and as such, we welcome to have input from all members of Parliament and indeed all Canadians across the country with respect to changes that are being considered.
The Honourable Member for Sherbrooke. Mr. Speaker, for months, drivers in Sherbrooke have clearly been victims of a cartel that's fixing the price of gas. A group of citizens launched a class action suit. They're facing a serious lobby, but they're also facing a lack of collaboration by the Conservatives and the Competition Bureau, which is refusing to disclose information on wiretaps and evidence. Why are the Conservatives protecting this alleged cartel in Sherbrooke that has been gouging drivers in the eastern townships? Honourable Minister. That is not at all the case, Mr. Speaker.
That have put in place the Fairness at the Pumps Act, and as a result of that legislation, passing it and bringing it into force with effective legislation, 33 individuals and 7 companies have been found guilty for their role in gasoline price-fixing conspiracy in the province of Quebec, totaling in $3 million in fines. 6 of these individuals have been sentenced to jail time. We do have legislation. We've empowered the Competition Bureau, and when these allegations are proven to be true, because of our laws, action is taken.
The Bourne-La-Salaberry.
The Honourable Member for Bourne-La-Salaberry. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, it's important to shed light on the practices of this cartel in Sherbrooke because the oil companies may have done the same elsewhere. In its annual review of the price of gas in Montreal, the CAA Quebec questions the sudden increase in the price of gas on the eve of long holidays. It's time that we put an end to this abuse by the oil companies and shed light on the situation of the cartel in Sherbrooke. Will the government undertake to ensure that citizens calling for justice get justice, or will they continue to turn a blind eye to this cartel? The Honourable Minister. As I just said, Mr. Speaker, that is not at all the case. As I just said, we have adopted legislation with strong and harsh penalties for people who are involved in that type of activity, Mr. Speaker. The statistics from the Competition Bureau are very clear.
33 individuals and 7 companies have been found guilty of their role in price fixing in the province of Quebec, and they've faced $3 million in fines, and 6 of these individuals have been sentenced to jail time. That's because of legislation that our government passed, regulations that we put in place, legislation that the NDP should have supported and been aggressive in, ensuring that it has these kinds of results to protect consumers.
The Honourable Member for Winnipeg South Central.
Mr. Speaker, our government continues to stand with the people of Ukraine in the face of Russian military aggression. This is why Canada has contributed to Baltic air policing efforts, conducted a number of military exercises in Eastern Europe, and sent HMCS Fredericton to NATO's Standing Maritime Task Force. Could the Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of National Defence please provide this House with an update on our government's latest efforts to show solidarity with the people of Ukraine?
Good. Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I thank the member from Winnipeg South Centre for that great question. Today, the Minister of National Defence is in Brussels at NATO's Defence Ministerial Meeting. This meeting is an opportunity to further coordinate our efforts to ensure that the alliance is ready and capable of responding to new security challenges as they arise. Our government remains committed to all of NATO's core tasks, particularly NATO's Ukrainian reassurance measures. The alliance's mandate and mission remains as clear and necessary as ever before. Together, NATO will continue to send the strong message to Vladimir Putin: you need to get out of Ukraine, just as our Prime Minister has said.
The Honourable Member for West Belleville-Marie.
Mr. Speaker, Bashir Maktal, a Canadian citizen, was arrested in 2006 at the Kenya-Somalia border and transferred to Ethiopia. He was denied access to Canadian consular services for a year and a half. Serious questions have been raised about the validity of his trial and the possibility of torture and of a forced confession. He has been serving a life sentence since 2007. His family has concerns about his health. It appears that our consular officials have exhausted all avenues to help Mr. Maktal. Will the Prime Minister consider intervening in this case?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary of the Minister of Foreign Affairs.
Mr. Speaker, the Government of Canada will continue to advocate on behalf of Bashir Maktal. We've actively engaged the Government of Ethiopia to the highest level, including our former Foreign Affairs Minister, for due process and the protection of his rights. The Privacy Act limits what specific details we can discuss, but I can tell you that if his family were to sign a waiver, we would be prepared to discuss this matter further. And through our government's actions, we continue to provide consular access to ensure the health and welfare of Mr. Maktal and to provide updates to his family.
The Honourable Member for Haute-Saint-Onge. Once again, the Commissioner of Official Languages has confirmed that Air Canada is not respecting its obligations as regards official languages. Air Canada wasn't even in a position to respect the action plan it provided. This clearly smacks of bad faith. When will the Conservatives ensure that Canadians are served in their language of choice when they deal with Air Canada? The Honourable Minister. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Under the Official Languages Act, Air Canada has the obligation to serve clients in the language of their choice. We expect Air Canada to comply with that.
The Honourable Member for Nicholson.
Mr. Speaker, our government's Connecting Canadians program will soon connect additional 280,000 homes in rural and remote communities to broadband internet services. Can the Minister of Industry please tell this House what new measures he is taking to expand high-speed internet services in rural communities?
Hear, hear.
The Honourable Minister of Industry.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. At 94% of connectivity to high-speed internet, Canada's one of the leading countries in the world with our connectivity rates, which is impressive when you realize that Canada is the second largest country in the world in size, but 37th largest in terms of population. But to close the gap from 94 to 100% is incredibly challenging, but we've embarked with our Connecting Canadians program by having rapid deployment of spectrum and proper investment into rural infrastructure so that we can have broadband connectivity in all of Canada. Later today, I will be making some announcements with regard to spectrum policy and expanding Wi-Fi connectivity. Because of our budget investments, we are going to ensure that all of Canada will be connected with high-speed internet so that all Canadians can benefit from the economic and educational opportunities that the internet provides.
The Honourable Member for Jean-Pierre Allemand. Mr. Speaker, last January, the city of Saguenay recorded the worst unemployment record of large cities in Canada at 9.6%. It's high time to help resource regions like mine. Will the government put in place in its next budget measures to promote second and third stage processing for resources in the regions, like for the wood and aluminum industries in the Saguenay-Lac-Saint-Jean region? Honourable Parliamentary Secretary. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Economic Development Agency for the region of Quebec helps all regions, and we focus on all projects, and they're all studied and considered based on merit. The Honourable Member for Léonard Saint-Michel. Mr. Speaker, in 2002, 40% of income from tourism came from international tourists. Today, the figure has dropped by 20%. The Hotel Association is calling on the government to focus on tourism marketing in order to attract more tourists. Funding for the tourism office has gone down since 2010. When will the minister take steps to focus on marketing for tourism in order to improve Canada's image as a destination of choice?
Minister of State.
Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Our government is proud of the action that we have taken to support the tourism industry in Canada. We've launched the federal tourism strategy to ensure that Canada will continue to create jobs and growth in that sector. The tourism industry is flourishing. The number of destinations, many, in fact, have recorded record levels over the past year. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
That concludes question period for today. The Honourable Member for Malpeque is rising on a point of order.
Mr. Speaker, the member of Malpeque was in fact the Solicitor General that named Hezbollah and Hamas as terrorist entities. And why the member for Wetaskiwin gets...
Sounded more like a question and not a point of order, and unfortunately, the question period had just ended. But there will be one tomorrow, so perhaps the member from Malpeque can ask that question at that point. But I think now I see the Honourable Member for Burnaby New Westminster, who looks like he's very eager to ask the Thursday question, so I don't think we should make him wait too much longer. The Honourable Member.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. There are 13 weeks left, 13 more sitting weeks before Canadians can make a decision about the current government. Mr. Speaker, as you know, just 8 months before the elections that will take place on October 19th. Now, Canadians know very well that this government continues in a direction that the vast majority of Canadians do not agree with. For example, with what we saw this week, the 86th time that we've seen a motion of time allocation. If it weren't for the fact that at the same time